So I think it's so funny. Like I was I had hives reaching out to you.
Really?
I
Well,
did.
if you saw my pin post where it says, like, I don't know if you saw my pin post where I said, like, no matter my, or it says my follow count will never change my character count.
That is true for you.
That is very true for
That
me.
is so true for you because I was like, she's probably not gonna write me back, or she's gonna, but I had this weird, I feel like God was nudging me to you because you can't, like, you come from a very biblical perspective and you hit it right head on, but you're so calm and so respectful. Like you have all the fruit of the spirit as you're confronting people that are hating on you, and just I don't know, so drawn to your post. And
So
I
did
felt,
you know what that all is though, right?
what? What do you mean?
Okay.
That's you. What do
So
you mean?
I have not always been like this. So this is where I'm
Yeah.
taking accountability. This is the accountability part of me. This is where I'm taking the accountability. I have not always been this way. So I did not used to be this calm person. I did not used to be a mellow person. I used to
What?
be very high strung. Yes, I know it's so crazy.
So wait a minute. What I'm hearing is there's hope for me because I feel like I'm high strung and I'm praying and saying, God, please help me be more even keeled, more calm, because I have a tendency to be a little high strung.
So let me explain it to you. I'm gonna kind of keep this from going too far, but I'll try to keep this a quick synopsis. So I did self-publish my book recently, and it kind of details it, but it doesn't even really go into full detail of everything. But I have been through two really traumatic events, two really traumatic events that not a whole lot of people. Now, one of them, a lot of people have a similar event, but the other one, not a whole lot of people will ever experience in their lifetime. So,
Oh.
with that being said, I'll kind of break it down real quick without trying to give names. But the first one was I'm an NPE, which is not parent expected. That means when someone takes an ancestry DNA test, or someone who's adopted, they'll find out later in life, usually as an adult, that they were adopted, or they'll find out that one of the parents who they thought was their biological parent is not their biological parent. For me, I had gone 33 years of my life believing that this one man was my biological father. And although he gave me up for adoption when I was 3 and then I was adopted, which that man, when my mom and him split when I was in 5th grade, he wanted nothing to do with me. Okay. And then my mom got married again to my stepfather, who I ended up losing him at 19 of cirrhosis of the liver, hepatitis C. And I thought of him like a dad. So, but
Mm.
after he passed, I then, went right back to the man who I had always thought was my biological father, who gave me up for adoption, trying to get him to be a part of my life, begging him from 18 to 33 years old. And he had gone to prison for domestic violence against his wife after my mother and all that. And I knew he had,
Mm.
abusive issues and stuff like that. But I was still trying to give him a chance, to be a part of my life. And I decided, I had, told my mom I wanted to take an ancestry test. And that was because we were trying to actually find out about my mom's heritage. So my grandmother. My grandmother was a mail order bride from Germany. And we
Oh
didn't
my
know
goodness.
anything about her family. So we were just trying to find her family roots when I took the ancestry test. And then whenever it came back, there was all these people that were close relatives that we didn't recognize any of the names. And even my mom went down this rabbit hole with me, and she's like, "Oh, I bet you that's probably like maybe one of my sisters or something. That might be." So my mom was even thinking some of these people were related to her. In all actuality, these were people related to my biological father that I didn't know yet. So it was
Oh,
it was like this wild crazy, and it went on like that for like a year. And then, of course, my sister was already no contact with my mom, and her and I really weren't on speaking terms. So when that mail order bride grandmother passed away, that is when me and my sister reconnected, and I got her to take the ancestry DNA test as well. And that's when it came back that her and I were not biological sisters, we were only half sisters. And that's when it linked her to the man who we thought was my biological father. So he ended up being her dad, but not mine. And that's when my mom, she just was like, wait a minute. And she just went, I mean, even her, she just lost it. She didn't know. I mean, she just was traumatized herself,
Hmm.
trying to recall everything that happened, which she got pregnant with me on her 21st birthday. So
Hmm.
and the math adds up. So we did figure that out. Um, so, which, I mean, we kind of figured, out that. But I mean, I did look like the man we thought was my dad. So I never had a reason to question it. Neither did.
Wow.
But once we figured out the man who was my father, come to find out, he passed away in 2014. So he passed away before he ever knew I existed.
Oh
And
my.
he passed away. He only knew that he had two sons, which I found two half brothers through all of it. But one of his dying wishes was to have a daughter.
I just got chills.
So
Oh, I just got chills. Are you
that
kidding?
was a huge pill. That was a very hard pill to swallow. And that sent me spiraling. But the best thing through all of this, Lisa, I have to tell you what has given me so much peace and has validated, because up until that day, I was a very being autistic, which I didn't know. I was autistic till back in February. I'm a type of person I have to see proof for everything. And because
Mm.
is not a person, you can't see him as proof, it's really hard to prove that he exists. Well, let me tell you what God did for me before I ever knew He did it and how He proved His existence to me. Okay? Back in 2018, so this was 3 years before I ever took this Ancestry DNA test. Okay? 2018, I had to go through an emergency hysterectomy a year after I had my youngest son, who was also a miracle child. I wasn't supposed to be able to have any more kids. It was less than 1% chance. And
Wow.
then I ended up getting pregnant with my son, who is not a fertility baby, but his sister, who's older than him, is a fertility baby. Okay. I do
We
have
have that in common.
yeah.
Mine
So
is a
there's
fertility
that.
baby.
And then I had, what was it? I had the hysterectomy. And while I was healing, I was on a binge watching series of Long Lost Family. I don't know why I had started watching. You know what that is? That show.
No, is it
It
a
was
reality show? Like a real
It was
show?
on
I mean,
TLC. It was like an hour long episode, and it was like people who took the ancestry DNA test, and they were finding out about family, and they were having like reunions by the end of the episode. It was like moms and kids who were meeting for the first time ever. And so I was on a binge watching series of that show at the same time, because I was on pain meds and all that because I was recovering from surgery. I had a dream, and in that dream, my stepfather had there was a man in the dream. I did not recognize the man, but he was like, "I'm taking you to your dad. I'm taking you to your dad," and that's all he kept repeating to me. And he took me to my stepfather, who I told you about. I had referenced as my father, and I had thought of him as my dad, who I lost. He had passed away. And in my dream, I had saw my stepdad, and we were standing on a porch of it was like a single wide trailer with like a deck on the front of it with a gravel driveway. And I saw my stepdad, and he was glowing, like I'm talking like healed. I mean, colors in my
wow.
dream. I mean, this is a very vivid dream. I'll never forget it. Very healed in my dream. And I hugged him. I was like, oh my goodness, you're healed. Oh my, and I hugged him, and I was so grateful. And I was like, but who is this man? And I went to turn in my dream, and the man disappeared. And then I woke up from my dream, and I sat up in bed sweating. My husband remembers this dream to this day. He remembers me explaining the dream, describing the stranger, the man in the dream, everything. I literally took it as a message to drive to Texas to go see my stepfather who had passed, drive all the way to Texas to see his mom before she passed. So the next thing we know, we're jumping in the vehicle driving all the way to Texas to visit my grandmother before she had passed. And then a couple of years later, I take the ancestry DNA test and I find all this out, and I meet my brothers. One of them lives in Utah, and I go out there, and he's showing me pictures of my dad. He's providing all these pictures to me, gives me the address of where my dad lived and everything, which he lived in Easley, South Carolina. Okay. And I'll get to that in a minute too. It's really weird how all this worked out. And my brother, he goes, "Man, this is where dad lived." And I said, "Wait a minute. That's dad." That's why I was like, he kind of looks familiar and I was like, maybe it's because he looks like me. It's like, wait a minute. Everything came back. The man in my dream was my biological father. So he came to me in my dream 3 years before I found out about him from the ancestry DNA test. And the place he lived at was the single wide trailer with the deck on the front. That was in my dream 3 years prior. And if you tell me God is not real, then you tell me how I had that dream before 3 years
Amen.
prior to that happening.
Wow.
That is how God validated to me his existence because I told people about this dream before I ever found out about my ancestry DNA results. My mother-in-law, my mom, my husband, I've told friends, and they have all told me, they're like, "Leanne, your whole story has validated God's existence for me because there's no other explanation for this stuff. Like that is just there's not."
Oh, wow. I
Humbled.
hope there's someone listening out there that actually hears that is saying, "Hey, I need proof. I don't believe." And they hear your story and they start opening up themselves to the proof.
It sent me through a spiritual awakening. It's the best way I can put it. It's reprogramming my brain.
Mhm.
It has caused me to really open my eyes. And then the
Wait a
next,
minute. Before this, did you believe in God?
I was a believer. Yes, I was a believer. I believed. Yes, I would pray a lot. And I'm like, God, if you're real, please, please be real. Please. And it was like one of those things,
Yeah.
but it wasn't, there was only one other time when I was like 14 that I had thought I had felt like the Holy Spirit
Mhm.
come over me, but I wasn't sure because I was only 14. But now, ever since all of this, it's like now it's almost like I can call on the Holy Spirit and I can feel him right
Mhm.
there immediately, like he's there.
Well, I felt it in you. Like I felt the Holy, that's how I was drawn to you. And this is shocking to me. Well, how long ago was this that you got this like confirmation from God?
March 19th of 2021.
So it wasn't that long ago.
Not
Because
long at
when
all.
I saw your TikTok, I just thought, wow, this woman is filled with the Holy Spirit. She probably always has been, always will be. Like this story is, I love this backstory even more now because that's why I was drawn to you because I never knew anything about the estrangement epidemic until I started experiencing it myself. I didn't even know that that was a thing. And I had no idea that people on TikTok are fighting about it. And they call them the ECs, the estranged child, and the EPs, the estranged parents.
Yeah.
I had no idea, but I was searching for some biblical ground, some biblical something, somebody that had some biblical knowledge to go along with this because I was so confused about what was happening with our church and our daughter. And then I came across you. And now you're telling me this. I'm like, oh, wow. This is just even more remarkable.
And I don't know if you've actually really gone into depth on my page and seen how I went viral on my page.
Something about Taylor Swift.
Yes.
I don't
Okay.
want to tell the story for you because
Okay.
I was telling my husband the backstory because he was listening. He gets very protective of me
Yes.
because I was sex trafficked actually by an executive producer and I knew him anyway. So he gets very protective when I'm going to do an interview or something. So
Mhm.
he was binge watching all your stuff till like 2 in the morning. He's like, "This woman's amazing. Oh my gosh, the things that she's been through, the Taylor Swift thing."
It is wild. And I don't know if you which I made it and I'm not gonna talk about it on here publicly, but I'm sure you saw in the last few days the stuff that I made for friends only that
Yes.
I was putting out there.
Yeah, we
So
won't say it. Yeah.
yeah, and so I've got plenty of proof. I mean, you know that. I mean, you've seen that. I have plenty of
I was
proof to
like,
back up my story. So there's plenty of proof to back up my story and the things that I've been through. But it's just the way, that's why I said God has put me in so many situations. I feel like He's put me in these situations for a reason. He's
Hmm.
planted me because I did not look for the job with the county. So I went and got my bachelor's, I went and got my master's. I wanted to be a financial analyst. Okay. That was my dream job. I did not apply for Sumner County for the financial analyst position. I don't remember applying for that position. They reached out to me. So I don't know how, if it was on LinkedIn or like on Indeed, if I don't remember. I just remember they called me asking me to come for an interview. I did. Next thing I know, they hired me. I was blown away. I even told them on the phone, I said, "Listen, I'm not qualified. I don't know what I'm doing. Are y'all going to train me?" "Yeah, we'll train you. We'll train you." That should have been my red flag.
Yeah.
They wanted somebody who did not, they thought did not know what they were doing. Okay?
Ooh,
Red
like a
flag.
scam?
Well, I look at it this way. I was like, they thought that I did not know what I knew. I knew more than what I let on, is what it
Interest.
is.
Very smart. Yes.
And so whenever I got in there and they were trying to get a budget passed because it was delayed at the time, so they told me just start going through files, start learning, look at learning
Hmm.
everything. I did as I'm told. Go through files, start learning. I learned more than I wanted to learn. Okay.
Yeah, I saw that. What you posted. Yeah.
Yeah, I learned more than I wanted to, but and all of it was public record. But since I've released all of it and showed everybody where to find it, they have now
Mm.
taken all of it off the website to where they're
Shocking.
shocking, shock. They only have 5 years worth of audits up now, so shocking, shocking. But I will say, like it's not a whole lot of people's going to be put into that situation, and if they
Hmm.
are, they're not going to be given the opportunity to uncover it and
Hmm.
realize that they were a part of it. Because I just so happened to stumble across a lady, which I will never ever leak her name, who is the one who showed me the email that was sent in by Andrea Swift, which now I wonder if was actually her husband that sent it in, but it had Andrea's name on it. So, which is Taylor's mom that sent the email in 20 years prior.
Mm.
But and then just the domino effects of things that had, happened after that, where I was taken out of the school. I mean, just it was a really messed up situation. But none of it defined me. And the whole purpose of my viral video was me saying, what you said about me, this is actually what I've done with my life. And at the end of the video, I ended
Oh,
it with, so the mic is in your hands now. So why don't you let people beyond Sumner County know who you really are? And I'm sure you
yeah.
saw that video, and so it makes sense.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
that was mostly my whole point on that. And I'm sorry I didn't mean to veer off our podcast into this direction, but just to kind of give you a background on me and the trauma that I have been through is, it's not that basic. It's very complex trauma that I've been through. And I've
Hmm.
been diagnosed with complex PTSD, plus from the
Hmm.
military, working in the military, and I've worked in HUD
Hmm.
housing. So, and I've worked on the federal, state, and local level government jobs now. And so I've seen a lot.
You see, that's what I help women with also. I'm a faith-based trauma healing coach, but it's also because I've been through it. I also have CPSD, same thing, not for the
Mhm.
same reasons. But I don't love that you've been through trauma, but I love that you're standing here before us, right? Thriving.
And
Like
that's all
not
you can
even
do. You got to
right.
turn your pain into purpose, is what you have to do.
Exactly. I love that.
And
And people of power and influence, that's who I was exploited by. So we have that in common also, which I
right.
didn't know. They can do whatever they want, but God has the last say. And
Exactly. He is the final judgment. And at the end of the day, and that was the thing with me, is the very beginning, I was so upset about all of it and how people were lashing out at me. I mean, from every angle. I mean, because
mhm.
Taylor is a big name, and I had so many people lashing out at me, and I really just sat down and I was like, wait a minute. At the end of the day, these are all opinions.
Mhm.
God knows what happened.
Yep.
He saw it all. He witnessed every piece of it, every piece of my life. He's witnessed it. And at the end of the day, when I leave this earth, God knows what happened, and I'm only got to answer to Him. That's it.
Oh, I have chills again. It's so true. I say that all the time. I'm like, okay, God, I'm comforted because I know that you see things and hear conversations that I'm never going to hear. So you know the
Exactly.
truth. You know what's happening. Same with this whole like estrangement epidemic. I hear moms talking about, you know, like, hey, I was a good mom. And maybe now they're being accused of abuse or and we talked, I think you had that on one of your TikToks also.
Which one? Excuse me.
I don't remember.
Excuse me.
Anyway, let's go back to the estrangement epidemic that's happening. Do you want to share anything about what you know about estrangement? Are there signs that because it is an epidemic that's happening now, right? And if you know the Bible, like that's part of end times,
Yes.
right? I don't have the scriptures in front of me. Maybe you know them.
I don't have them right in front of me right offhand, and
Yeah.
right
But that's
offhand.
what I was,
One thing I
my,
did not bring with me was the actual scriptures on
that's
those.
all right. We don't need it. We can always add it in. The point is when kids start dishonoring their parents, right? I'm big like the fifth. I was not that I didn't care about the fifth commandment, but the fifth commandment is the only one that comes with a promise. It's honor your father and mother, and then in Ephesians, so that it may go well with you. And I think a lot of parents are misunderstood, especially moms, when their child is cutting them off and they know that they did the best they could as a mom, right? There was no abuse, neglect, abandonment. They know they're a perfectly flawed mom, in other words, right? And a lot of moms get misunderstood thinking that's like a fleshly pride thing, like, you need to be in my life. When really, a lot of Christian moms that I see are saying, no, it's because I want it to go well for you, not just in this life, but in the afterlife. I want you to receive all the blessings you can in this life and in eternity, right? And
Mhm.
churches really aren't teaching that. But I want to like kind of backpedal to what can we share with parents? What are some of the warning signs that maybe parents, estranged moms missed
Warning sign?
before the child cut them off? Like, are there any warning signs that happen? Like, did they meet a boyfriend
I don't
or a
think.
girlfriend or,
Yes. Yes. And I guess with my own, what had happened is, and I'll kind of explain that. With my own son, he had met a girl, and I took her in, welcomed her in, like with open arms, because I wanted to make sure that he knew that I welcomed her in. I wanted her to feel welcome into the family. I mean, I let her dog come over. Yes, bring your dog over. Allow your dog to come over. I mean, to the point, yes, she was bringing her dog over with her every time and allowing her dog to come over. I mean, just making herself at home. Like, she knew the code to get in my house, everything.
Mhm,
Like, she could come in my house without us here. I mean, I wanted her to feel like family.
mhm.
That's where I messed up. That
Bingo.
is where I messed up. And I'll explain this. That's where I feel like a lot of parents mess up. And not only that, but my son, and I wished I would have never, and this is where I kicked myself in the butt too. While I'm going through all the trauma, okay, this was in 2023. So I'm still going through the trauma, trying to navigate through my NPE experience and the discovery. But before I found out about, before I started working for the county and found all that stuff out, so before that traumatic experience, um, I I was trying to navigate that. My son broke up with her. Okay. When he broke up with her, I should have like not have gotten involved. I should not I should have put my foot down when she forced me to get involved. And I'll tell you how she did so. She began blowing my phone up every single day, texting my phone every single day, showing up at my house every single day, unannounced. I mean, begging and pleading with me every single day, please
Mhm.
get us back together. Please get us back together. And I'm like trying to deal with my own healing and trauma and all of that. It was getting on my husband's nerve. He just like kind of stayed out of it because, he's like, I don't want to be a part of it. You know how a man is. And I'm like trying to be the good guy, wanting to try to make everyone feel welcome and trying to be the mediator here. I just want everybody to be happy. That was where I messed up. Well, finally, he gets back together with her. That was in Mayish last year, April, Mayish last year.
Mhm.
Everything went downhill July 4th. July 4th is when the falling out happened because she got over at my mom's house, is when all of it happened. We were at my mom's house. Her dog was over there. And she got an attitude with me in front of my mother, my stepfather, my two youngest children, and my husband. And I kind of stood there for a second. I was kind of like, did she really just do that? And I was like, wait a minute. Okay, this has kind of been happening a lot lately. I need to put my foot down because my mom kind of looked
Mhm.
at me like, you really gonna let that happen? And finally, I looked at her and I said, I said, listen, I don't know who you think you are, but I don't allow that from those two children over there. I don't allow that from Caden. My mother did not allow that from me. I don't know if your parent allowed that from you or allows you to talk to them like that, but I don't allow that, and my mother doesn't either. And I'd be
Good for
DAM,
you.
which I did cuss at the time. I did cuss at her. I'd be dang if you're gonna talk like that to me. If so, you have lost your dang mind, girl. I don't think so. And I immediately turned around and walked out the back door on my mom's deck to cool off. Okay, and sat out back to cool off. Next thing I know, she walks out back, giving people hugs to leave. Looks at me and goes, "You gonna give me a hug or not?" And I was like, oh, I literally jumped up, and this is where the calmness in me was. I wasn't as calm back then. I said, I did. I got really upset and hostile, and I said, y'all better get that bitch away from me before I whoop her ass. And I did. I did say that to the girl, but mind you, she is 19 years old at the time. Okay.
That's
So,
righteous anger.
huh?
That's righteous anger.
I was mad. I was
Yeah.
very angry because I'm like, you just upset me, and then you're gonna come out here and get an attitude again. Like, you're now like it's like you're enticing, like trying to make
Hmm.
like you're adding fuel to fire. Like why
Hmm.
would you do that? And so ever since then, and then she left. My son then comes outside on the back porch with me. I sit down with him. My mom's sitting with me. All three of us are sitting there. Me, my mother, and my son. Three generations, right? I said, son, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I did that and I embarrassed your girlfriend. I'm sorry. But I am not going to allow that. You know that. And I said, I'm not going to put up with that. I didn't put up with that from you, and I'm not going to put up with that from her. I'm sorry, but I'm just not going to do it. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Whatever. It's fine. We'll talk about it tomorrow. It's fine. I said, okay, well, we can talk about it tomorrow. That's fine. And I was okay with that. I was on neutral grounds about talking about it the next day.
Hmm.
I love you. I love you too, Mom. I thought everything was fine. I ain't heard from him since.
Did he live with you?
No, he was living with my mother-in-law where he's still living.
Did he never said, "Hey, I'm going to contact," or like
Nope.
literally no communication whatsoever?
Nope. The only time of the way I know he's talked to my mother. He has talked to my mom because he kept in contact with my mom.
Hmm.
My stepdad, obviously my mother-in-law because he lives with her. He's kept in contact with some other people. And they kind of like my brother-in-law, which is my husband's brother. They don't tell me everything because he has asked them not to. And I said, please do respect my son
Hmm.
and do not tell me everything he tells you. I don't want you to. I said, just tell me things that I would want to know, like his safety, tell me some
Hmm.
things, please, but absolutely do not tell me absolutely everything. Only some things you think I need to know. And so I, from what they have said, some of them have said that he's burned the bridge with my mom. I know that. He has already, since all this has happened, he's made my mom mad. He's also made my mother-in-law mad. He has also made his uncle, pretty much he's burned the bridge with everybody else since then.
Hmm.
But he's still living with my mother-in-law currently.
Did you notice when he was with this young woman, did you ever notice any behavior changes in him? Like, was his character changing? Was his behavior changing when he was with her?
Yes. So, he had a really good job. He was working as an electrician, making like $19 an hour, 18 or $19 an hour. Plus, he had just started his own power washing business that we helped him get going. He let the business go under and he gave up his job with benefits, making like $19 an hour. And he quit that and went and worked at Bojangles for a little while. And then he quit
Mm.
that to go work now in her backyard at her dad's, building furniture, making $12 an hour with no benefits.
So it sounds like he kept lowering his standards, lowering his standards, lowering his standards. Did you ever point that out to him? And how, was he receptive to that?
That's only been since he's gone no contact.
That's been since he's going on contact. So,
So I have heard like that because he has created a lot. He also, I guess, he went to work for a furniture store at some point also after Bojangles, but I don't. I
mm,
just know that it was somewhere in Murfreesboro. That's all I know. Because, and the way I know that is because he told my mother-in-law. Because my mother-in-law got mad at me and my husband one day, because she goes, "Did you go down to the furniture store to show up at his work and go in there and try to get him fired?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" Well, supposedly y'all were. He said that y'all were seen on camera going down there, walking up in his job, trying to say we want the family discount, trying to get him fired. I said, we don't even know where he works, and he worked in
mm.
Goodlettsville, right down the road at Bojangles, and we never even went to his place of work there. Why would we drive to Murfreesboro?
This is very common where the estranged child makes up lies like this and
Yep,
makes it look like you're the bad guy. It's
yep,
almost as though they want to do that to justify so they can say, look how crazy my mom is. That's why I had to cut her off. Look
yep,
how crazy my parents are. That's why I had to cut them off. That's a common thread from what I've heard in my
yep.
toe dipping into the estrangement epidemic. And so it sounds like there was a young woman involved that you are saying like you welcome too much too soon, right? Like your family, your son breaks up with her for whatever reason. How long were they together before he broke up with her?
They're like 5 months.
This is sounding so familiar. This is really just touching nerves for me. So, short time together, he breaks up with her, and she's like, but we're family, we're family. In other words, she's like treating you like that, right? Like you're actually
Yep,
her mom or something. You actually set a boundary and say, no, you cannot treat me this way, right? You're upholding the honor. You're not her mom, but you're her boyfriend's mom. So you
correct.
are upholding, you're saying, no, God, you didn't say it this way, but this is really what it is, right? God says, no, you have to honor. You have to honor and respect.
Absolutely.
And because you said that, like all of a sudden, boom, gone.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've heard, that's estrangement by proxy. Also, I've heard that that's a term. Have you heard that term?
I just heard that one the other day.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never heard that either. And I heard it. It's like, what is this estrangement by proxy? Where someone
Buzzwords.
else.
They're buzzwords, is what they're called.
Yeah. But the whole point is I'm seeing like all of these common threads just for me personally and just from what I'm hearing from other moms out there, you know. And so when he was with her in those, what, 5 months, that's what I'm wondering. During that time, did you notice any behavior changes in him?
And him during that 5 months?
Hmm.
No, I mean, no, no, not at all, actually. I didn't notice any behavior changes during those 5 months. No. It literally was all the behavior changes came after after the no contact. that's where it's like a light flip switch because or a light like it's
Mm-hmm.
like a flip switch because
Mm-hmm.
not only that, he's become an alcoholic too. And he's not even 21 years old. He's drinking every weekend. So, I mean, he was coming home drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and this isn't just one person who's telling me this. This is his high school friends who have called and told
Mm-hmm.
me. This is his uncle who has called and told me this. This is his grandmother who has called and told me this. This is more than three people who have told me this. That my son is getting drunk on the weekends. And he just got baptized.
Mm-hmm.
But supposedly he quit drinking 2 weeks before he got baptized.
So this is what I
Supposedly.
was wondering. What, so there was no, like, before this, there was no threats like I'm going to leave, or well, he was already not living with you, so you didn't have
Right.
that you were dealing with. So the young woman that he was with, was she in any kind of therapy? Because there's a lot of young therapists that are promoting going no contact with
Her,
parents.
I don't know. I'm
Hmm.
not sure, but I do know that she lived with her dad and her
Hmm.
stepmother, and
Hmm.
her biological mother. I want to say her biological mother wasn't a part of her life. I
Hmm.
did used to talk to her dad and her stepmom, mostly her stepmom. And the only thing her stepmom would do was just
Hmm.
bash her biological mother all the time. I mean, just
Hmm.
trash her. Which I think her stepmom is the root of the issue of all of this, too. I think her
Hmm.
stepmother is also part of the reason my son is not having contact with me. I think she's encouraging my son not to have contact with
Hmm.
me. And mind you, she's only the stepmother of the girlfriend. Okay.
Hmm.
But let me tell you something. Every time I met this woman, she had like there's a energy that just pulls from this woman that is just horrible. Like I've had several people who've
Hmm.
met her, my family members who have met her, my godmother met her, my godmother met this woman during their prom
Hmm.
pictures. And she told me the next day, she said, Leanne, that woman has a demonic force on her.
I feel you on
Like,
that too. Yeah, I hear
yes,
that a lot too, that there's another influence, like the parent of whoever your estranged child is with. They're,
yes.
yeah, like are they married? Did your son marry her?
Oh, praise God, no. And I sure hope not. I hope they
Mm-hmm.
don't either. Like I
Mm-hmm.
pray every day that it does not happen, but I think that the stepmom, she's trying to
Yeah.
make it happen. I think she wants it to happen. I think she's wanting them to have a baby too. I think that, but I don't know for sure, but I feel like that's
Yeah.
what that's just how I've read her, and that was the energy and vibe that I got from her.
Hey, strange mamas, are you waking up every morning feeling that pain in your heart? Like your heart is on the outside of your body. It just feels so raw with a lump in your throat. Is your stomach all riled up? Are you having a hard time focusing throughout the day because you're still maybe beating yourself up? Or walking around feeling ashamed that your child just completely cut you off and you don't really understand why? You're not sure you're ever going to talk to them again. I have a free gift for you. My free morning meditation will help you get into a state of gratitude. That's right, I said gratitude even during the storm. When we can actually praise Jesus during the storm, that is everything. It's easy to have gratitude when everything is going great, but to have gratitude during the storm can change your brain chemistry because your brain can't focus on positive and negative at the same time. It will also help you decide how you want to feel every day, no matter what's going on in your life, no matter what your child is doing or not doing. You get to decide how you feel. Click the link below and I will help you get into a state of peace and calm and clarity every single day so that you have clarity and you know the next steps that you need to take in your life for you and for your child. You are worth it. So how are, because you've been through a lot in your life. You've already shared a lot with us, right? And now you're going through this. How are you coping with this? Because it's like you're grieving someone who's alive because your child is
I have
out there,
I
you
have
know.
found purpose. And so with that being said, so with all of this, and I'm very transparent about my life. I'm an open book. I'm not embarrassed by anything I've been through. I'm not embarrassed by anything I've done in my life. Because all of my mishaps and all of my mistakes are all learning and they're all lessons. The only mistake is the lesson not learned.
True.
That's how I look at things. And so I am not embarrassed by anything I have been through or done in my life. And so I look at life now and I go, I am living with purpose. And I have been back in September after this stuff happened, the whole my video blew up with the Taylor Swift. I ended up in the VA hospital where
Mm.
I had the nurses on the floor there had actually wore Taylor Swift stuff and bullied me like on the floor of the mental health hospital. To the point, and because it's a federal hospital, my husband could not check me out of there. He actually had to contact senators, congressmen, and state representatives to get me out of there. But within 72 hours, I had 4 or 5 guys in suits and briefcases roll up in that hospital and check me out of there. Complete strangers I didn't even know who were from Capitol Hill roll up there and got me out of that hospital. So that was nice.
Wow. I'm
But
so yeah, I'm happy to
oh
hear that the something's good is happening with senator. Were they senator? Do you know who they were?
yeah,
Congress
it was
people?
Senator Mark Green's office. So I
Oh,
do want to give
wow.
Senator Mark Green in Tennessee a shout out for that,
Wow.
and Congressman Kumar. So I
Wow.
do want to give both of them a shout out because they were amazing at helping get me out of that facility. So I do want to give them a shout out. Um,
You hear all these bad things. I don't want to go in a political rabbit hole, but you always hear a bad thing, right? So I love
yes,
that we're shining a light that,
yes.
so these senators and congressmen did something that actually helped a citizen. So,
Yes, and they did. They did. They were awesome, and I do want to say that they do. I mean, if they will help you if you just push, they will. And
mhm.
so I after that I ended up after I got diagnosed with autism in February, I kind of started spiraling again because my son's birthday is in March.
Mm.
And the day of his birthday, I reached out to him, told him happy birthday. I did not receive even a response back. It was hard on me. Really, really hard on me. I ended up checking myself into another facility on my son's birthday. And back in March. And I left TikTok for a couple of months because up until that day, I was still receiving a lot of hate from the Swifties. I mean, we were like
Mhm.
5 months into it at this point, almost 6 months, and I was still receiving a lot of backlash from a lot of Swifties. And so I kind of disappeared off TikTok for 3 weeks and went and checked myself into another facility. And I was there, and of course, having autism, I'm having like a mental breakdown, and they put me into a room with a girl who was detoxing off of, I don't know what it was, what kind of drugs, but she was detoxing. But it was a girl, she was detoxing off of drugs, and about 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, she woke up screaming, like banging her head on the wall, like just panicking. And like, it startled me. I was in the military for one,
Mhm.
but it startled me. I'm having mental breakdown. I've got autism. I get overstimulated. I'm in there trying to cope and trying to get mental help, like mental health care help. And that just aspirated everything. So I immediately told him, like, I was like, I'm going home. This is literally amplifying absolutely everything. This is not helping. And so at that point, it took me forever to let them leave. They kept on trying to get me to stay, but I was like, no, I'm leaving. So my husband came and got me after 3 days. And I was like, I cannot do these facilities. Like, these facilities are failing people. This is why the suicide rate's so high. It's just, I can't do this. So I was like, I am going to take all my trauma now. And instead of like sitting and dwelling on all this and allowing this stuff to define my life and defeat me, I'm going to turn this pain into purpose. And one thing that needs to happen is these facilities need to be separated. There needs to be an
Hmm.
entire detox facility where people go through a detox center first before they are ever moved over to a mental health care facility to go through those classes that they have all day long. You know, they have like the therapy
Hmm.
classes and all, you know, all that stuff. People who are detoxing should not be going through those classes. They're not listening and paying attention anyway. It
Hmm.
needs to be mandated that there is a specific center or set place that is for detox patients, that they have to do a minimum of 30 days of detox before they ever
Hmm.
go over to the mental health care facility. So I told my husband, I said, next year, we were already planning on, we have 10 acres into East Tennessee. We were already planning on selling our house and moving to East Tennessee to build onto our 10 acres and let our youngest children go to school there because both of them are they have autism and sensory processing disorder, and it's a slower lifestyle there, and
Hmm.
they're more outdoorsy, and I think they'll thrive more over there in that area. And I told my husband, I said, after our oldest, who's going into his senior year, I said, after he graduates, I said, we're already going to be living in a camper while we're building anyway. Why don't we take a year? You work from home anyway, so why don't we take a year, travel the country, homeschool the kids, and I want to get in front of at least one politician in every state and beg them, do something, talk to someone, try to get them to separate these facilities and have the detox center and have it mandated where there's two different places, and they have to go through a detox 30 days first before they ever go over to the mental health care facility. And my husband's like, okay, let's do it.
I love that you're doing that because I used to be an addictions counselor, but I only worked like in the rehab center. You know what I mean? And we didn't, so patients had to detox. They weren't even allowed, like what you're saying, to do any groups or anything until they were cleared in detox. So,
Really? It's
yeah,
not like that anymore.
is this this is like a private, was it, are you talking about like a hospital?
No, so see, I went to it's over in Brentwood.
This was
Over
in Arizona too, so maybe it's different.
This one was a private one because they
Really?
and I was only there for 3 days, and they wanted to charge me like I was supposed to be there for 30, and it was going to cost us $5,000 for me to be there for 30 days.
So this one, the one I worked at was 30,000.
Oh, really?
It was like like all these celebrities would come. So that's my only experience in a rehab facility. So I didn't know like this was even going on. So I
Oh
don't
yeah, it's
know.
bad.
It's called Sierra Tucson. It's now called Maryville, I think. They switched it to like a spa atmosphere. But
They
yeah,
called
this
this
is
one a spa. This one was it's called Arbor Wellness is what it's called. It's out in Brentwood. But if you
Mhm.
look it up online, it looks like a spa. They
That's
make
what
it look
this,
like a
yeah,
spa.
that's what this looks like. And this was going to be 30. This was back then. That was in the 90s. It was 30 grand to stay there for a month.
Really?
But they did have a separate detox unit. And maybe that's why it was I don't know. And they, like I said, that we kept them there, but they weren't allowed to join any groups until they got cleared in detox. But it could be different level. The point is I don't think there's a standard of care is really what I know we're going off on a rabbit hole here,
No,
but it
you're
sounds
good.
like there's not, because that was one facility. That's the only facility I have experience with. But I'm wondering if they just don't have standard of care either. Because it did seem
That's
very kind of loosey-goosey. I'm like, who's actually in charge here? You know what I mean?
hmm
Like celebrities would come in, and depending on what was going, like they'd have different rules than the other. I was like, what is going on here? Where is the standard of care? So I
that is
wonder.
another that is another issue with it too. And I mean, I am open to hearing other people's thoughts. Like I am just getting started on like planning all this because we just decided to do this at the end of April.
So
So
this was a private rehab place or
yes.
private, really?
Yes, and then they ended up sending me to an outpatient one when I left that one early over into Hendersonville, which is called Epiphany Wellness, which is more outpatient, and it was just as bad.
Oh man, and I don't know. I'm glad that you're doing this from state to state too, because maybe it varies. And who's the governing board? There's, you know what I mean? Okay, it's like churches, right? There's no
There
governing
is none.
board. Who do you go to when you have a complaint? And it was interesting that you say that because their celebrities are very entitled, the ones that would, because they were in that like mode of, do you know who I am?
Oh
Who do
yeah.
I speak to? And I honestly didn't have an answer. I'm like, I don't even know that we have a governing board. There I was as a counselor there. And I'm like thinking, I don't even know. I don't even have an answer for you. And then the other people, the non-celebrity people would come in and they'd feel it. They'd feel like they were being treated differently.
Hmm.
I never even knew the celebrities when they came in. They always put me with like the high profile ones because I never knew who they were. A lot of them are rock stars. They're like, "Do you know who I am?" And I say, "Yes, you're a person experiencing heroin addiction, and you're here at Sierra Tucson to recover." And they would get so mad. No, I'm so and so. And I still didn't know who they were. So it's really, I feel like we're touching on something in here because the same, like the churches too. We talked about that, you and I, and our messages. When we were having issues at our church, who do we go to?
Like,
No one.
and that's the problem is I don't like there's not really a governing, and I feel like okay, you have nurses have standards, they have nursing boards, state boards, they have standards, they have people they have to
Hmm.
report to. And I feel like the churches there needs to be someone who is above these pastors that they have to report to. That they have there needs to be some kind of authorian
Hmm.
like authoritarian, is that, am I saying that right?
Yeah, I know
Above
what you
them,
mean.
am I
Yeah.
saying the correct word on that?
Yeah.
Above them that is governing them. See, for
Hmm.
my autism, I struggle with word choice. Governing them to make them follow the proper guidelines that they need to follow. There needs to be
Hmm.
some kind of there needs to be something in place because when I was raised on believing the church was all about counseling and unity. Where this whole
Strengthening
division,
families.
huh?
Yeah, strengthening families,
Exactly, exactly. And
not
I just don't
affirming.
understand it. Like like what
Hmm.
happened? Where did
Right.
it go wrong? It's because there's no accountability or like for the pastors themselves.
Hmm.
And they themselves, I've realized, are the biggest hypocrites.
Hmm.
The biggest hypocrites. And what people don't understand is people see a pastor and they think, "Oh, that is God. That's almost as closest to God that you can get is a pastor because they're preaching the word of God because it's a stigma that has been
Hmm.
planted and indoctrinated into us." But what people don't understand is what I tell them. I said, "You realize a pastor on Sunday mornings standing up there behind that pew, the only thing that he is doing is teaching his perception of the Bible to you. That's all he's doing. That is all he is doing, is teaching his perception of the Bible to you." I said, "You give me a pastor that's standing up there who's open to talk about everyone's perception of the Bible. I bet you can't name
Hmm.
one."
Yeah, exactly. That's why I started reading the Bible, actually. Well, the pastor that we went to, he would say, "Don't believe me, read the Bible." So I would. I was like, okay, I'm not going to believe you. I'm actually going to read the Bible so I know for myself. And it was actually someone in our church that said, honoring your father and mother is so important to God that he added a blessing to it. And these kids that are cutting off their parents and pastors are like, "Oh, okay, well, you know what? You're 20, you're 21, whatever. You can do what you want to do." But that's not true. If you're a believer and you're a follower of Jesus, it doesn't matter your age. You have to do what Jesus calls us to do. And the
Exactly.
big thing is following that commandment. And I want to ask your opinion about something. If your son, this is a scenario, if your son, say you and your son went to the same church as his girlfriend and you saw them twice a week and they walked by you and you said, "Hi, Sam," or whatever his name is. "Hi, Sam." And he said nothing. And pastors witness this. They witness your son ignoring you, denying your existence in the house of God, and did nothing. To,
Oh,
and to the point where you went to the pastors and you said, this is what's happening. You even had a meeting, and the pastors know that they know you, right? They know you're a good mom. They know you're not a perfect mom. They know you're flawed, but they know you were a good mom. You did the best you could, right? And they know that your son cut you off and the girlfriend cut you off, and then they married them knowing that you weren't invited.
um, well, first off, I don't see how the pastor was able to do that and and go to sleep at night
Mhm.
feeling okay with that as a pastor. Um, that that seems like a shepherd dressed in wolf clo
Yes.
or a wolf
Yeah.
dressed in sheep's clothing to me for one. False prophet for because he's definitely not practicing what he preaches, that's for sure. But me personally, are you still going to that church?
Yeah, we are still going to
Well,
church.
that first off, that is
But we're exploring, we are exploring other options. I will tell you that.
well, I will tell you how I would handle a situation like that. Me personally, how I would handle a situation like that is how big is there a lot of people that go to that church?
I think, I don't know, a couple thousand maybe.
Okay. Well, um I would make sure that it was on even if it's on a Wednesday or a Sunday night or something when they were both there as well. Um, I would then raise my hand and say, I would like to speak to the congregation for 1 second, please.
We're we're not allowed to do that there.
Why not?
They don't do that.
Why?
They just
So,
don't.
what makes the pastor better that he's able to speak to the congregation, but his own congregation is
Mhm.
not allowed to speak to each other?
Not, no, not, you mean like in the middle of service, raise your hand?
No, I mean, I'm saying like towards the end, once it's done, say, hold on, before we leave, I would like to speak before you dismiss, please. I know you're done
I
with.
I don't know. I've never seen anybody do that. I don't think they'd be receptive to that at all. We'd probably be escorted out by police,
Why?
to be honest.
That's not a church. That's a cult.
Mhm.
That's called a cult, not a church.
Yeah. No, but I've never seen anyone raise their hand, nor would it be encouraged. We've been told, don't make a scene. We've actually been told that, like, don't approach her, don't make a scene. Yeah.
Hold on, I'm about to tell you. Let me tell you. In context of religion, a church cult is a specific type of religious group or a pejorative or I can't see that word or a term for a group considered unorthodox or extremist. A cult can be a group with excessive devotion to one single figure, object, or a belief system, often with charismatic leaders. It can also refer to a group that deviates from mainstream religious or cultural norms and engages in questionable practices, sometimes with focus on a dominant personality.
Mm.
So you tell me, does that sound like a cult to you?
I think maybe I'm in a cult.
I
It's
think
funny.
maybe you are. So, and
I need to go peace process myself now.
so and that's the thing is I try to tell people, if you really actually look up the definition of what a church, not just cult, don't look up definition of cult, look up religious cult or church cult and actually look and see how it defines how a church cult is and actually think about the church you're attending and see if it falls in that criteria.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
may surprise you.
we haven't raised our hand. We have sent lots of letters, which we have not gotten a response back.
And see, my son's church, the one he's attending, is less than like 50 people that go to that one. But the pastor the pastor came from a church that he was preaching at with that had like over thousands of people in it. It's a famous church in Nashville. And now he's at this little rankety dankety one out in the sticks with like 50 people in it. That's also a red flag, I think.
That there's only like 50 people in it. Yeah.
Why did he leave this church with like thousands of people in it? I mean, I've already figured it out because I've called that church as well, and I've kind of talked to people at that church, and they've kind of told me like how he is, and he's like in his 40s, and
Hmm.
he has no elders in his church.
I don't know that we have elders in the church. We have like a variety of pastors. And, when we've brought up, what about the fifth commandment? We've heard, well, she's honoring you guys just from afar. They're adding on to the commandment. That doesn't say honor your mother and father from afar. And
That
then we're
is not,
told, well, you can't judge her heart. It's pretty obvious. If you're ignoring your parents in church when they're saying hi to you, it's pretty obvious.
yeah,
There's no gray area with God and the
exactly,
commandments, you know.
exactly.
And so we've been asking, that's a question I would love to do what you're doing. My husband and I have talked about this, like literally what you guys are doing. Get ourselves an RV, travel around to different churches and say, what does it mean to honor your mother and father once you're like a young adult, once you leave home? What does that look like? What happens if you don't? And is cutting off your parents, is that honoring them?
Mm-mm.
And it's like churches are living like in this bubble, maybe, right? And they don't understand what's actually happening in the culture, that this is an estrangement epidemic that's happening. And they're affirming the estranged child while dismissing. And this is very cult-like, because they'd be like, we don't want to lose her. We don't want to lose them. We don't want to lose them. Well, if we're talking about cults, if we're being honest here, maybe this is true of other churches, right? They want to zone in on the young adults. Why? Because if they get them, then they're going to have kids and then they're going to grow their congregation
Mm-hmm.
or the cult, whatever it might
Yep,
be.
exactly. And that's exactly what I was just saying the other day too. It's like that pastor where the church that my son's at. Like literally he has a blog. And when I went to Google it, the third option down, it was like it said something along the lines of how to how to obtain and keep children in the church or something. How to obtain and keep children in the
Mhm.
church. And I'm like, no. Why are you worried about no? Why are you worried about that? You need to be worried about getting elders in your church, is what you need to be
Mhm.
worried about. You need to be worried about making sure your elders are listening to you first. Because if you get your
Mhm.
elders listening to you first and you get them on board with you first, they're going to help bring the children in the church. Because there's going to be more of your voices out there. It's not just going to be your voice trying to bring in all the children. You're going to have more elders who stand behind you and stand behind your word, trying to bring more
Mhm.
children into the church. Any church that is lacking elders, that's a problem.
Mhm.
If you see
Yeah.
church lacking elders in it, that is a problem. That is a huge red flag.
Yeah. And our like the people that were with are like, oh my gosh, this could happen to our kid, like other people that have the same age kids, like this could happen to our kids.
Hmm.
What's going on there? Well, this church built a coffee house just for young adults, and parents aren't allowed there.
Build a what house?
A coffee house. They built a coffee house to, because they wanted to, I guess, focus on young adults. So it's 18 to 28, married or single. But if you're under 18 or over 28, you can't go into this coffee house when they're there after service. There's other times you can go in there, but they have specific nights after service that only the young adults can go in. And at first we thought it was the most amazing thing in the world, and now it's like red flag. And so we've asked that question also. It's almost like you're encouraging estrangement. You're encouraging right? These young
It's
adults to,
also not, that's not promoting. Okay, well, that's what makes me, they want to try to promote inclusion, diversity, and all that stuff, but that is definitely not that. That's not what that's doing. You are promoting
hmm
division. You are that's all that's doing is it's like children's classes. I
hmm
understand you got to have, and I brought it up to a church one time, and they're like, I never thought of it that way. But I said, you have children's church. Why do you have first grade, second grade, third grade? Why do you have it split up the way you do? Why don't you have first through fifth, middle school, and high school? I said,
hmm
because the only thing that you are doing is you're promoting division.
Right. And so that's what we realized with this coffee house. We're like, wow, they're already promoting division between young adults and adults, like elders, you call them, right? Over 28. I'm not sure that 29-year-old is an elder, maybe. But it's,
Well, I
yeah.
think it's more like 35 and above is more, well, actually I call elders, I call them more like 50 to plus, 50, 50
hmm
plus. And I call the adults with wisdom 35 to 50.
You know, and talking about the age groups too, just that age group, that's where I don't know how old your son is. How old is your son?
20.
Yeah. So that's the age group where they're doing this. And when I talk to other people in that age group, they'll say to me, Lisa, it's normal. This is normal. It's normal to cut your parents off. No, it's not.
No, it's not.
And it's not healthy and it's not biblical.
And I actually have something on that for you that I wanted to talk about that because and I want to make sure I say this right when I say it. That when it comes to that, if you think about it, and I'm sure you've heard this, the brain is not, the human brain is not developmentally,
Mhm.
completely developmentally developed until the age of 25 years old.
Yeah, that
Okay.
frontal cortex with all the rational and good decision making is happening. Now you
There
got a
you go.
bunch of kids all gathered together, twice a week, sometimes three times a week, who aren't making rational decisions. They're all getting married too in that coffee. Like they're all meeting each other and getting married. It's like a
I'm guilty of it. I've done it too. I mean, I joined the military, and I'll be honest, I was married and divorced twice by the age of 21.
see that.
I was going through my second divorce at 21 years old. And then, after going through two divorces, my husband, who I'm with now, I meet him, and I waited no time. 2.5 months later, we got married. Like, I jumped right back into it. But we're almost 14 years into a marriage now. But you also got to know that when I met him online, but I sent him to go meet my parents before he could meet me in person. So I was very safe about it. And I was like, any man that's going to go meet my parents before he could meet me in person, that's a keeper.
I love that. I absolutely love that.
So
That is a keeper. He's a keeper.
he is definitely a keeper. He is definitely, and my mom and him are like, they get along really good. And like they didn't at first. I will say that. It took a while for my mom to come around. But my mom now and my husband, they're like best friends. Like they mess with each other and joke with each other all the time. They're both tech nerds. My husband's a software engineer. My mom's she works in databases for the state. So they're both tech nerds. So they talk computers all the time. So and they love Tennessee football. So they get along great.
I love that. I love that. I feel like we've covered so many topics tonight.
Yes, yes, we have. But I mean, if I was going to say anything, one last thing I want to cover for people, I want to say if anyone is between the ages of 18 and 25 years old and has gone no contact, and I'm going to have to read this one, okay? Because I have typed this out.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I want to
Go
read this.
ahead, read it.
I, I want to read this, okay? Because I have typed this out. I'm sorry, you're going to have to cut this up. All
That's
right.
all right.
What I would tell any young adult that has cut their parents off, especially if they're under 25, is this. You better be real sure you're not mistaken your own immaturity, entitlement, or inability to handle discomfort for trauma. Because cutting off a parent is a serious decision. And if you're doing it because you don't like being told no, or because you don't, or because you can't emotionally regulate, then you're not healing, you are avoiding. You think you're strong for walking away, but strength is shown in hard conversations, not silent treatments. And one day, maybe not today and maybe not tomorrow, but one day you might realize the story that you told yourself does not match the full picture. And by then, it may be too late to take it back.
Mm.
If your parent was abusive or truly toxic, that's fine. Protect yourself. But if she was a human being doing the best that she could, maybe while battling her own childhood trauma or surviving things that you'll never understand, then you owe it to yourself and to her to look at the whole picture. Accountability is a two-way street. If you're cutting people off without ever trying to work through anything, you're not healing, you are running. And eventually that catches up with you. So before you sit in your echo chamber and call it empowerment, ask yourself one question. Are you telling the truth, or are you telling the version that gets the sympathy that you're looking for?
Mic drop. We have nothing left to say. I love that. That was spot on. That gave me chills. I can't thank you enough, Leanne, for being on.
Yeah,
How can people, if someone wants to reach out to you, whether that be that estranged child that's like, oh man, a light bulb just went off, or an estranged parent, how would you like them to get a hold of you?
yes, on TikTok, you can reach out to me right now. That is my major social media platform. I will always be on TikTok. That's where my most following is on TikTok. It's Leanne Tennessee Mama, or at Lily the letter N T N, which is like Lily in Tennessee. So Lily N T N, and it's all one word, lowercase. So, or you can just put in Leanne Tennessee Mama, and I usually pull up pretty quick. Or you can even probably put in like Leanne Taylor Swift and it might even pull up or something. But I'm not too hard to find on there from what I've been told. I'm pretty easy to find on there when you go searching for me. So
You are. I'll have Steve, that's the producer, put it up there also.
oh,
But
thank you.
yeah, you're probably gonna get more people, parents contacting you,
Oh,
kids
and
contacting
when we do hit the road and we do our little travels, and because if I would love for people to reach out to if they have ideas on something that would they would like for us to voice about on what they think needs to be changed in our country on reform. With us doing this travel, I'm willing to be other people's voices who can't make this trip. Please reach out to me. I would love to be a voice for other people as well, and talk about reform that they may want to see changed.
you.
Our YouTube channel is going to be called Rolling with Mahoney's. I have got it up, kind of like
Love
Rolling
that.
with Mahoney, kind of like that, but I've called it Rolling with Mahoney's. I have got it started. I've got it up. I've only got like one little video on there. I haven't really started posting stuff on there yet, but
Funny.
I do have the YouTube channel up.
That is so awesome. Okay, I'll have Steve put all that in show notes too. So thank you, Leanne. So we can end here.